Speaker.
The Reverend Dr. David Clark.
Mr. Speaker, this is a budget of broken promises. It is short on vision and it fails to deliver a surplus. And people around the country watching that speech will be asking, I wonder they'll be saying to themselves, did those ministers on the national bench take that $1,000 themselves before they cut it off for hard-working families around the country? They'll be saying, did the member for Ireland bank that $1,000 before he cut it off from his hard-working constituents? They'll be asking, did he encourage his family members to take that $1,000 before they cut it off from hard-working constituents? They'll be talking to the members from Hamilton West and they'll be saying, did he take the $1,000 before he cut it off from his hard-working constituents? To the member from Hamilton East, did he take it from his family members, for his family members from South before he cut it off for the rest of hard-working New Zealand? They'll be going into the office in Rodney and saying, did the member there, did he take the $1,000 before he cut it off from his hard-working constituents? There's some guilty faces opposite, and I'm not surprised. They'll be going into the Rotorua office and saying, did the minister, did he take the $1,000 before he cut it off from hard-working families? And I'd be interested to hear what answers they get. I wonder if the journalists will ask them whether they took the $1,000 KiwiSaver kickstart before they cut it off from hard-working New Zealand families. Over there, they're quite happy to cut at the lunch for everyone else when they've got a big lunch themselves, Mr. Speaker, and that is indicative of this government's attitude to the future of New Zealand. They have hit the panic button.
That's right.
They've hit the panic button, and we can see it right there in the regulatory impact statement on the front page. On the front page, this advice was requested in advance of Budget 2016 and therefore has been prepared urgently. How long's budget been coming? Why did it need to be prepared urgently? So they haven't even focused on the effect on policy options on national savings. They say it there. That's para 2. Para 1, it's urgent. Para 2, they haven't focused on savings. And then para 5, if we skip forward, there's only been limited consultation. And now we're passing it through urgency. They know what answer they'd get. They know the hard-working New Zealand constituents who come into their offices would be furious that they took the $1,000 and then said it's gone. It's gone. But it's what we get from this government. It's out of touch. It has lost touch with middle New Zealand. It's looking after the interests of a very wealthy few, and it's robbing Peter to pay Paul. Where there are a few good things in the budget, and we have on this side acknowledged some good changes in the budget, we see that there's sleight of hand and they're taking with the other hand, and middle New Zealand is the ones that are squeezed yet again. They are robbing Peter to pay Paul. Those improvements shouldn't come at the cost of those who are just 1 or 2 rungs further up the ladder, but that's what we see from this government, a government short on vision. And there's no doubt that this change will reduce savings for New Zealanders, and at the very time we need to be increasing them. This is a short-term plan and not a long-term vision, but it's what we've come to expect from this government. A government that is neglecting the regions, that has failed to diversify the economy, that has failed to address the housing bubble in any meaningful way, and that has failed to diversify the skills of New Zealanders to prepare for tomorrow. And we know, Mr. Speaker, I remember from my time in the Treasury that one of New Zealand's challenges is capital debt. It is actually having enough money for businesses to access, for them to grow. Now that is a very serious problem. The Treasury had an analyst on it in the 70s. They've still got an analyst on it. And opposite, they're doing nothing about it but cut when it comes to savings. They don't care about business in New Zealand, not small business, not medium-sized business anyway. Across there, all we see them doing is cutting. And they cut the contributions to the Cullen Fund. They've cut the contributions to KiwiSaver on several occasions. This is one of a number of cuts. My colleague David Parker outlined, I think it was 7 or 8 cuts last night that they've made to KiwiSaver. This is a government that doesn't care. In Australia, they've got a fund that's got $1.3 trillion in it, a super fund. Now that would happen across here if Muldoon hadn't cut it. It's the same attitude as the Muldoon government. This government, though, has borrowed more than Muldoon. They are up to $88 billion in debt. They are drowning us in debt. $10 million a day is just paying off debt. Taxpayers are paying $10 million a day just to pay off their debt. That's the attitude they have. That is short-term thinking from a government that is out of ideas. Now, 500,000 Kiwis are going to miss out on this $1,000 over the next 4 years. Those are the Kiwis that should be going into the offices of those members opposite and saying, did they take the $1,000 before they cut it? Did they take the $1,000 before it was cut? I will be interested to see. I'd like them to put up their hands if they took the $1,000. I'd be interested to see if members opposite had the courage to put up their hands if they took the $1,000. Let's see. How many of them took the $1,000? How many took the $1,000 across there? None of them. They're all saying none of them took the $1,000. I bet that's wrong. I bet we'll learn in coming days that that is wrong. Those members opposite should own up. They took the $1,000, then they took the letter away. That's just typical of this government. Now, we know this plan works. That's the crazy thing. 2.5 million Kiwis have signed up for KiwiSaver. 2.5 million Kiwis have signed up to Labor's KiwiSaver program. And the IRD says in its fairly thick and comprehensive evaluation report released recently that this is an excellent scheme, basically. 36% additionality, 36% extra savings on top of the savings that would ordinarily have happened in our economy. And it's because, of course, there are member contributions that encourage people to get involved. There's an opt-out clause, so people are in the scheme, there's no overheads, no hassle to get involved. People find themselves saving before they know it. And of course they're encouraged because there's $1,000 in there to start with. And as my colleague David Parker outlined last night, that makes a difference for somebody on $15 an hour. When they're saving with a part-time job a couple of bucks a week, 1,002 is much more easy to be proud of than $2 in your account. It makes you feel good. Behavioural economics have happened. We're not still in the 80s. Those people over there need to read a few new economic textbooks, get the high out from under their pillows, get a few new books under their belt, get the spray misters out to dry them off. Those people opposite need to have an up-to-date understanding of just how economics works. Thank goodness the IRD has a few insights, because they are telling the government that this policy works. This policy works. And the beautiful thing, of course, is that people are signed up to the scheme already. A lot of people have got this and they'll be thankful, but it's the 500,000 Kiwis that are going to miss out over the next 4 years that we should be thinking about. Those 500,000 Kiwis, I hope just a few of them go and ask these national MPs and ministers opposite whether they took the $1,000 before they got rid of the scheme. They already cut the member tax credit in 2011, cutting savings. Cutting savings is not the way to manage the economy. It's what Muldoon did, and this is the government that has created more debt than Muldoon. It's the same plan, and it didn't work then, and it won't work now, and Kiwis can see that. We don't even know if it can be implemented. The IRD says it's going to cost $210,000 to implement this scheme. That's 210 Kiwis who could have had the extra $1,000. And will they be able to do it? Or will they be coming back again, the members opposite, like they've done with so many bills that have adjusted the tax system, to reverse the changes out because they cost so much under the old system in the IRD that they still haven't fixed after nearly 7 years of government. 7 years, 7 long years, and they still have no new ideas. They haven't fixed the tax system. I doubt very much, Mr. Speaker, whether they will be able to do it, and they're costing New Zealanders' future. They are stealing from the future generations, from the pockets of kids. This is what it's come down to. And they'll claim high and mighty, they'll say they've made some positive changes, and no one on this side of the House begrudges them that. But we don't want to do it by stealing out of the pockets of those 1 or 2 rungs further up the ladder. It's always the middle class and the lower class, those who are struggling, those who are really working hard, those who go out to work every day and are on modest wages, those who are on the medium incomes that are feeling the squeeze. It's not those at the very tip top, not those that benefited from the 2010 tax package, not the top 1%. But we will see. Let's see if Mr. Bennett stands up shortly to say that he took the $10,000 and he's proud to see that no one else, sorry, $10,000, that would be even better, that he took the $1,000 and then cut the scheme. I bet Mr. Bennett will tell us that he did take the $1,000, that he encouraged everyone he knew. This is retrospective legislation because they know if they push this out, a whole bunch of people would sign up, no matter what they say. This is a government that's out of vision, out of ideas, and out of touch.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. David.